Feels like the mic is right here blocking my face. Oh, okay.
Three, two. It's your boy Jay Gills. Welcome back to the Real Deal Sports Show. Reporting right here live from beautiful Las Vegas, Nevada, Super Bowl 58. We got the Rad Man here in the building.
Yes, indeed. Las Vegas doing it up on a Monday. Man, I've never had so much excitement on a Monday here in Las Vegas, Nevada. We're going to tell you all about it later on in the day and later on in the week. But we have a very special guest we have here with us, Jay Gills. Who do we have with us this afternoon?
Nothing better than top off this Monday with the beautiful Miss LaWanna Bradford, CEO of Bradford & Co.
Hello, everybody.
And Miss Bradford, thank you for joining us here as we, talk about the Super Bowl, talk about the businesses, all the great networking events. But we want to really get into your company and your background in finance. What helped you shape that background in finance and get you to where you are today?
Oh wow! You're taking me way back down memory lane, huh?
Mm-hmm.
So. It actually started when I was recruited as a presidential intern out of the University of Arizona, and I was working in the management consulting arena. So as an internal consultant for the federal government, and with that I was responsible for financial management of the military forces. So that was my introduction to that, and then it just grew from there. So I also did financial analysis for the Olympics, for transit authorities, also for Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Wow.
Excellent.
That's very powerful.
And now you're working with athletes? That's another aspect of your business model?
Yes.
And I know I was reading in the article from Sports Illustrated, 4 out of 5 professional athletes end up bankrupt. Unfortunately. And how do you feel about going about changing that number, making it more of a positive number?
I think for me, it's not so much changing that outcome, but really helping to empower athletes to understand that they're in control of their own destiny, that they don't have to leave their lives up to chance. And often you think about that professional athlete who's transitioning from life on the field to their civilian career.
Absolutely.
Their entire life has been conditioned to be football. And so many of them identify with being football. Well, they are not football. That's what they do.
Right.
And so my whole thing is to help them understand that's just something you did. You did it well for a point in time. Now, how do you take that lived experience and do even greater things?
Absolutely. And to that point, in my research, Mintzberg, a researcher, he came up with the 10 schools of strategy. And as I hear you speaking and, enlightening the audience and myself in regards to your background, very political, military, and that's kind of what you're bringing to the table with these athletes. How do you navigate specifically an athlete who may not have that same atypical style of thought that I have? I like to be very organized, and so I'm with that. But somebody who might be more, loose or not, or free-willed, or more go with the flow. How do you manage that type of mindset to the very structured and way in which what you're bringing to the table?
Sure. I think most people are very go with the flow. That's just easy, right?
Right.
But to get to the point where you have to, what I like to teach people is you have to take accountability and responsibility for your life. So in order to do that, it requires discipline.
Gotcha.
And discipline requires structure.
Absolutely.
And order and organization. So if you want to achieve certain things, just like they did with the game,
yes,
right? They were disciplined.
Yes.
Year after year after year to finally they reach the top. So now translate that into your life outside.
And they followed the game plan. How do you get them to follow your game plan of becoming an entrepreneur?
It's not about them doing my game plan. If that's their desire to be an entrepreneur,
Yeah, for those that want to be an entrepreneur.
then it's showing them the tools that they need, because just like the career with NFLs is very short-lived, it's 3 years. The average small business owner closes shop in 3 years.
Oh, that's true.
Right?
Yeah,
So it's like, how do you position yourself to stay relevant in an ever-changing market? And the first thing is knowing your industry.
Right.
And then once you know your industry, what makes you unique? And now how do you dominate that lane? And then realizing that your lane was designed by you. No one else is in your lane but you. If you believe someone's in your lane, then that's your belief. But if you truly understand how how powerful we are as creative beings. No one's in your lane ever.
And to that point, you know, my pastor always talks about the cookie cutter mentality. You know, every Christian is not the same. You know what I mean? Every Christian has their own identity. It's not a cookie cutter. So, you know, being a diversity coordinator and working in diversity and inclusion, how has that kind of shaped the people that you've worked with? How has that helped you be more broad in this industry and really like get something from everybody that you've take away from everybody?
I think the key thing as far as diversity and inclusion is realizing everyone has their gifts and talents. Everyone brings something to the table, right? And if I understand and am willing to understand who you are, though you may be different than me, it doesn't matter. I just want to allow you to be, but then in turn allow me to be.
Absolutely. Wow. You have a vast resume extending through politics, sports, entertainment. What are some of your greatest achievements and what you're the most proud of what you've done?
Wow. One of the greatest achievements is working at the Olympics, the 96 Olympics.
Oh,
wow. Yes.
So I was part of the Atlanta.
Where was that, if you don't mind? Was it
Atlanta?
Was Atlanta that year?
Atlanta committee of the Olympic Games. And that was the first year that we had, Atlanta was the official transit, had the Metropolitan Atlanta Rapid Authority was the first official transit. And you think, well, what's the big deal about that? Well, no Olympic up until that time had official ways to get people in and around.
Gotcha.
Wow.
So that
really? That's hard to believe. Really?
Right.
I didn't know other Olympics had that.
Wow. See?
Wow. So MARTA was moving African Americans rapidly through Atlanta. They were there.
Let's not use that term.
I'll go back to that era. Excuse me.
But yeah, we were the first to do that and establish the model of how to navigate people safely. You know, the whole security and everything that's involved with that,
That's
and
very impressive.
to mitigate
in the U.S. for a long time, huh?
And to mitigate congestion right in the area. So you think about the things that the NFL is doing and in and around key venues.
Yes.
There was someone who, set the stage. There's precedence that's been set, and we learn from each event.
Yes. Yes, and I know what is the hardest thing, or the success stories with the athletes, or what is the hardest aspect of working with the professional athletes?
I think the biggest is mindset and identity, because most of them identify who they are with what they do, and there's a difference.
Wow.
You are not ever what you do.
That is deep. That's deep.
That's true. That is true.
So it's like you hang up the uniform, and it's like, oh my gosh, now what? What do you mean now what? Who are you?
Wow.
Let's unpackage who you are. Let's identify those gifts and talents that you have that you've used prior on the field. Maybe it's a leadership skill. How can you translate that? But typically, you think about it, most athletes, they retire. What do they want to do? They want to be a newscaster or a coach.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Is that? No, there's nothing wrong with that, please. I'm not saying there's anything
but that's all
wrong.
they see.
Right.
That's the only thing they see. They haven't really explored because they're so busy training and staying in shape and going to practice and the OTAs and the whole year-round season. That's all they see and all they know of outside of being a football player or an athlete in any other sport.
That's so true.
And I think if my program can help them realize through their lived experience on the field, right? It takes teamwork, it takes discipline, it takes leadership, all of that. If they could take that and translate it back to their communities, and you look at our Black and brown communities, imagine what we could see as far as transformation.
Huge transformation. This is my last question. Feel free to answer it or not. But after hearing all the great work that you're doing, what role does your faith play in, shaping all of this together?
Oh, total. It's all me. And in fact, this program came about because of that, because of my personal trials. And this whole program is about when you go through, I like to call them life tsunamis.
Wow.
Right? You live long enough, life's going to happen.
Right.
So then how do you rebound off of that? And for me, just share with the audience my story and how it came about. I have my mortgage company, as I told you, but then 2007, 2008 hit the mortgage crisis. So instantly our ability to do loans was stripped from us. Then from there, my brother who was in the business left the business. Then my husband and I got divorced.
Okay.
Then I was sued by one of the largest banks in the nation. Then I was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh, wow.
Talk
And-
about a tsunami. I see.
Yeah,
I
and
see.
all of this is in a 6-year time period.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think my story, though an athlete may not have the exact thing, can relate to when you feel like you're on top, when you are on top, actually.
Yeah,
and,
right,
and then the rug
right.
swept from under you, then what? And so with this, I became my own case study. I was wondering what caused me to be so resilient.
Right.
How did I keep rebounding, and not only just rebounding, but getting better with each
Absolutely.
each rebound?
Yes.
And I realized it's a system, and it's this R3: reframing,
Yes, that's
refocus, reframe, and reconnecting.
Okay.
And I saw that consistently in all, and I realized, wait a minute, it's for a time such as this.
Exactly.
That
Come on.
all of this is now to tell my story. I'm to show athletes, executives, entrepreneurs, business owners
Everybody.
how you
I was
can win.
done. And yeah, because you started with the talents. It took me straight to the parable of the talents. And, this interview, you've been dropping jewels and gems.
You certainly have been.
And tell us about your just the last question again, because I see we're about to wrap up, but your motivational background and what does it mean to be a motivational speaker working for the Leadership Challenge?
I don't see myself as a motivational speaker. I see myself as an illuminary. And that's a person who is able to point the way.
Yes.
So I'm able to identify the connections of things. That's just the gift that I have. And I find opportunities in the chaos and show people how you can translate those stumbling blocks into stepping stones.
True.
And if I could just share with the R3, just really simply, the first thing is as far as refocusing. So when you've been broken and beaten and you just are like, I don't know what to do, it allows you to tap into, again, not what you do, but who you are. Really peeling that onion back, because most of us don't really know what we are. If you ask someone, who are you, they'll instantly say what they do.
You're right.
Right?
Right.
So once you're able to do that, then you realize, if I know who I am, man, I'm powerful. Now I realize I'm the architect of my life. So now I design my lane. And as I said, no one's in your lane but you. You only compete with yourself. You can only get better, glory to glory.
That's right.
And then,
Glory to
and then the third is, and that for me, that was the hardest part, is reconnecting. Realizing that despite everything, I could still step back on the playing field of my life and win.
That's absolutely. What's your last words of advice to young people that may be going through something, going through a challenge? And like you said, that tsunami, when it hit, how did you keep the confidence and say, hey, and how did you get back up and move on?
I would tell the young and the not so young that if you keep living, life is going to happen. It's not always going to be a bed of roses. But just realize that you are more than enough, and that when your vision intersects with opportunity, success is inevitable. So always look for the opportunities.
LaWanna Bradford dropping jewels.
Yes.
Where can they find you?
They can find me on my website, LaWannaBradford.com, or BradfordGroupMTG.com.
Man, it's a pleasure to have you.
It is,
Thank you
certainly.
so much.
And thank you for taking time to come on Real Deal Sports Show. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
having you.
Thank you. This is great. Thank you.
Take care.
Very enlightening. Huh?